What if I told you the man once crowned as a global ambassador of peace has just been silently erased from history, and at the exact same moment, Nigeria's most controversial former president mysteriously dies in London with no hospital, no records, no answers? Simon Njoku Ekpa, the defiant face of Biafra's global movement, now finds his peace title deleted without warning, as if his legacy was too dangerous to be remembered. Was it political pressure, betrayal, or something far darker? But the chaos doesn't stop there. As Nigerians search for the truth about Muhammadu Buhari's secretive death, millions erupt online, some crying, many dancing in the streets. Vice President Kashim Shettima is flown to London to retrieve Buhari's body, at a cost that could feed an entire state. And just when the nation gasps for breath, the richest man in Africa drops a billion-dollar bombshell, Aliko Dangote's seaport plan. Meanwhile, Iran claims Israel used magic in war. Kidnappers abduct a chief imam for 30 million naira. And the Biafran government begins recruiting its own police. This isn't just news. This is history, betrayal, and revolution, all colliding in 1 week. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear will change how you see Nigeria forever. Simon Ekpa, who was awarded an Ambassador of Peace title in 2023 by the Universal Peace Federation, has had that recognition seemingly retracted or removed from the organization's website, possibly due to his ongoing legal troubles in Finland. Former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari reportedly passed away in London on July 13, 2025, but no official source has disclosed the specific hospital or clinic where he died, despite extensive media searches. Nigerian Vice President Kashim Shettima and other dignitaries were sent to London to receive Buhari's body, a move many Nigerians criticized as wasteful, with estimated expenses ranging from 130 million naira to 195 million naira. While some mourned Buhari's passing, others celebrated publicly, including individuals dancing in the rain and a Twitter user named Saviorino, who blamed Buhari for his exile and hardship. Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest man, announced plans to build Nigeria's largest seaport in the Olokola Free Trade Zone in Ogun State to support his refinery and boost economic development. Iran claimed that Israel used magic power or supernatural forces during a recent 12-day military confrontation, an accusation widely seen as bizarre and unsubstantiated. Sheikh Mutad Mohammed, a chief imam, was kidnapped in Edo State, and abductors demanded 30 million naira in ransom. He was reportedly seized after stepping out to buy food for his family. Nnamdi Kanu lawyer Aloy Ejimakor published a letter from the concerned citizens of EU nation in diaspora, urging Igbo youth to organize and defend their land, sparking debate on whether diaspora members should return home to support physically. Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, the Deputy Prime Minister of the United State of Biafra, USB, announced recruitment into a new USB police, warning citizens against joining the Nigerian police, which she equated to a death certificate. The story of Simon Njoku Ekpa, Muhammadu Buhari, and the entire string of unfolding events that occurred around mid-July 2025 presents a vivid mix of political drama, spiritual betrayal, public sentiment, and national reckoning. To understand what truly happened, we need to go back and unpack every piece, starting with a problem that lies deep in reputation, broken trust, and the visible cracks in institutions once revered. Simon Njoku Ekpa, the controversial yet globally recognized leader of the Biafran government in exile, found himself caught in a wave of betrayal and embarrassment when a prestigious title conferred upon him in 2023 by the Universal Peace Federation appeared to have been quietly revoked. The Universal Peace Federation had honored Simon Nyoku Ekpa with the respected title of Ambassador of Peace, placing him among those the organization believed were promoting peace, diplomacy, and justice around the world. For many of Simon Nyoku Ekpa's supporters, that recognition was a long overdue international endorsement of his tireless advocacy for the self-determination of Biafran people and the continuous resistance he led against injustice in southeastern Nigeria. But in July 2025, as his legal troubles in Finland deepened, supporters and critics alike noticed that Simon Nyoku Ekpa's name had been removed from the Universal Peace Federation's official listing of peace ambassadors. The quiet deletion raised questions. Had the organization decided to dissociate itself from Simon Nyoku Ekpa because of mounting political pressure? Was it influenced by global governments hostile to Biafran self-rule? Or was it a strategic move to protect their brand from controversy? These were questions that would echo across digital platforms, especially among pro-Biafran social media groups. The removal was not accompanied by any public statement or explanation. There was no email, no press release, and no diplomatic letter. Just silence. And for someone like Simon Nyoku Ekpa, who had held up that peace title as part of his identity in press briefings, online broadcasts, and diplomatic engagements, the sudden disappearance struck a deep blow. What made it more painful was the timing. It happened when he was already under fire in Finland, facing trial, pressure, and surveillance from a legal system many of his followers believed was working in collaboration with Nigerian authorities. Meanwhile, Nigeria was dealing with something even more consequential. On July 13, 2025, word broke out that Muhammadu Buhari, the former president of Nigeria, had died in London. But the way the news was handled revealed layers of secrecy and confusion. No one could say with certainty where he died. Not one credible report confirmed the name of the hospital, the attending doctor, or the circumstances surrounding his death. There was just a report, vague and incomplete, saying the former president had passed on. It quickly created suspicion. Many Nigerians took to social media to ask whether Muhammadu Buhari had been sick all along. Some wondered if he had died even earlier, and if the news was being delayed for political reasons. Others simply wanted to know where the body was and why the government seemed hesitant to disclose even the basic facts. Then came another confusing twist. Kashim Shettima, the sitting vice president of Nigeria, alongside other senior government officials, was reportedly sent to London to receive the body of Muhammadu Buhari and prepare it for repatriation to Nigeria. This diplomatic delegation sparked outrage. In a country grappling with poverty, insecurity, and inflation, the idea of sending an expensive entourage abroad to receive a body was seen as wasteful. Independent estimates suggested the trip could cost anywhere between 130 million naira and 195 million naira, a figure that shocked many Nigerians. Social media exploded with criticism. Some users posted sarcastic comments about how only in Nigeria would millions be spent to bring home a corpse while living citizens were starving. Others went further, suggesting that the entire episode was part of a larger state-sponsored spectacle to distract the public from economic hardship and growing insecurity. A man on Twitter, who uses the name Saviorino, tweeted that he would not shed a tear for Muhammadu Buhari, claiming that the former president's actions had forced him into exile. His story was not unique. Dozens of Nigerians posted similar experiences, blaming Muhammadu Buhari's administration for their loss of jobs, freedom, and in many cases, their desire to remain in Nigeria. Elsewhere, videos started to go viral. In some cities, individuals were seen dancing in the rain, celebrating Muhammadu Buhari's death as if it were a public holiday. These actions, while shocking, revealed the deep resentment that lingered among a section of the Nigerian population. Many people remembered Muhammadu Buhari not just as a former general or former president, but as a symbol of hardship, silence, in the face of Fulani herder killings, clampdowns on free speech, and what some saw as the marginalization of southeastern Nigeria. Amid all this, another development took the public by surprise. Africa's wealthiest man, Aliko Dangote, announced his plan to build the largest seaport in Nigeria within the Olokola Free Trade Zone in Ogun State. This project, which would support the operations of his Dangote refinery, was also expected to accelerate economic development in the region and across Nigeria. While some celebrated the move as a sign of private sector leadership, others questioned why it had to take a private billionaire to build what successive governments had failed to. The seaport, according to Aliko Dangote, would help reduce Nigeria's dependence on foreign ports and create jobs for thousands. But even this announcement could not fully distract the public from the ongoing events surrounding Muhammadu Buhari's death and the fallout from the betrayal of Njoku Ekpa. In another bizarre international update, Iran made headlines for a strange claim. The Iranian government accused Israel of using supernatural powers, or what they called magic power, during a recent 12-day military confrontation. According to Iranian military commentators, Israel's strategic victories in the battle could not be explained by conventional science or military tactics. Instead, they pointed to magic. While the claim attracted attention, it was widely seen as unserious and unverifiable. Some geopolitical analysts dismissed it entirely, saying that Iran was trying to shift attention away from its own internal military failings. Others said the claim was an attempt to stir religious emotions or appeal to certain supernatural beliefs common in the region. But back home in Nigeria, the pain of insecurity continued to manifest in tragic ways. In Edo State, a respected religious leader, Sheikh Mutad Muhammad, who served as a chief imam, was kidnapped after stepping out of his home to buy food for his family. According to early reports, Sheikh Mutad Muhammad was abducted by unknown gunmen who later contacted his family with a ransom demand of 30 million naira. The incident shook the local Muslim community. They called for prayers, support, and urgent intervention from the police. Unfortunately, such abductions have become common in parts of Nigeria, with kidnappers targeting religious leaders, school children, and even farmers, knowing that authorities often fail to respond swiftly or effectively. In the southeast, the Biafran movement gained fresh momentum following a powerful message from a legal figure deeply involved in Nnamdi Kanu's case. Aloy Ejimakor, a seasoned legal advisor to Nnamdi Kanu, released a letter allegedly written by the concerned citizens of the European Union nation in diaspora. The letter urged Igbo youths in Nigeria to organize themselves, protect their land, and take proactive steps to defend southeastern territories against external threats. The letter triggered immediate debate. Some felt it was time for the diaspora to come home and fight alongside their people. Others argued that such calls could lead to more bloodshed unless properly coordinated and guided by law. Then came another bold announcement, this time from Dr. Ngozi Orabwezi, who is the Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra. She disclosed that her government in exile was recruiting a new security outfit named the United States of Biafra Police. According to Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, this force would serve as a reliable alternative to the Nigerian police, which she described as compromised and dangerous. In her words, joining the Nigerian police was equivalent to signing a death certificate. The remark caused tension. It signaled a growing shift where Biafran supporters were not just talking about independence, but creating institutions, police, legal frameworks, and diplomatic missions. Critics feared it could trigger a larger confrontation with the Nigerian state, while supporters hailed it as a step towards self-sufficiency and sovereignty. What ties all these events together is a sense of betrayal. Betrayal by global institutions, betrayal by governments, and even betrayal by neighbors. Simon Nyoku Ekpa felt betrayed by the very organization that had honored him. Supporters of Muhammadu Buhari felt betrayed by the silent way in which his death was handled. Families in Edo State felt betrayed by a country that could not protect its religious leaders. And many Nigerians felt betrayed by a system that seemed to serve only a few at the top. The consequences of these betrayals are enormous. First, Simon Nyoku Ekpa's diplomatic credibility may have suffered a blow, especially among those who depend on international validation. The removal of his Ambassador of Peace title could make it harder for him to lobby global organizations, even though his grassroots popularity remains strong. Second, the Nigerian government's credibility continues to erode due to its lack of transparency and extravagant spending during crises. Third, the Biafran movement, emboldened by these failures, might intensify its campaign, further dividing national loyalties. But are there solutions? That question is harder to answer. In theory, Nigeria needs national healing, truth-telling, and unity. The government must invest in rebuilding trust, ensuring justice, and curbing corruption. The Nigerian police force, often accused of human rights abuses, needs reform. At the same time, movements like the Biafran government in exile must find ways to promote their agenda peacefully, legally, and diplomatically, without encouraging violence or division. Unfortunately, these solutions seem far away. With rising insecurity, growing poverty, religious extremism, and ethnic tensions, it appears that Nigeria is inching closer to a boiling point. However, the actions of private individuals like Aliko Dangote show that where governments fail, the people can still act. If more business leaders, civic groups, and spiritual institutions can rise above politics and work for peace and development, maybe there is still hope. Until then, the betrayal of Simon Nyoku Ekpa by the Universal Peace Federation will continue to haunt his movement. The mysterious death of Muhammadu Buhari will continue to stir conspiracy theories, and the pain of kidnapped leaders like Sheikh Murtad Mohammed will remind everyone that Nigeria's biggest enemy is not always outside. It sometimes comes from within. As the days passed following these dramatic revelations, the tension around Simon Nyoku Ekpa's status, Muhammadu Buhari's death, and the rise of a defiant Biafran structure only grew thicker. Supporters of the Biafran government in exile began to ask one uncomfortable question aloud. Did the Universal Peace Federation distance itself from Simon Nyoku Ekpa out of fear, out of diplomacy, or out of pressure from Nigerian authorities? That question opened a floodgate of accusations online. Some Biafran commentators alleged that the Universal Peace Federation had bowed to a silent international alliance aimed at sabotaging the Biafran struggle. Others believed the move had more to do with public image, with the organization trying to stay away from the controversies surrounding Simonyoku Ekpa's aggressive rhetoric, alleged links to civil unrest, and most importantly, his ongoing criminal trials in Finland. But within pro-Biafra spaces, Simonyoku Ekpa was not seen as a criminal. He was seen as a targeted revolutionary, a voice that refused to compromise even when surrounded by foreign intelligence and legal traps. His followers did not see the revocation of the peace title as a fall from grace. Instead, they saw it as further proof that the international system was working against the interest of southeastern Nigerians. Videos began to circulate where speakers warned that peace organizations and human rights groups were not to be trusted if they could betray someone like Simonyoku Ekpa without a word of explanation. At the same time, more details about Muhammadu Buhari's death, or rather the lack of them, kept stirring anger. News outlets searched desperately for the name of the London hospital that had handled his final days. Journalists called embassies. They contacted medical insiders. Nothing. No one would say where the former president had died. It seemed as if the Nigerian government was deliberately hiding the information. This silence led many to believe that Muhammadu Buhari had not only died in secrecy, but may have also lived his final years in political isolation, perhaps even shame. It also reignited an old rumor, one that suggested that Muhammadu Buhari may have died years earlier during one of his extended medical leaves in the United Kingdom, and that a political body double had taken his place for a time. Although such rumors had been repeatedly denied in the past, the refusal to disclose basic facts about his death gave those whispers new life. The outrage over the cost of repatriating Muhammadu Buhari's body only worsened when an unofficial document leaked online, allegedly showing logistics and hotel expenses that totaled more than 180 million naira. The document showed bookings in luxury hotels for dignitaries, food expenses, transportation allowances, and even appearance fees for certain officials. If it was authentic, it meant that while millions of Nigerians went without food, water, or electricity, the government was spending lavishly on a corpse that many citizens no longer considered a hero. In places like Aba, Onitsha, and Enugu, the streets were tense. Young men held rallies where they denounced the Nigerian flag and displayed banners of Biafra instead. The moment was perfect for Dr. Ngozi Orebweze, the Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, to push her agenda. She issued another video message, more fiery this time. In it, she urged Biafrans to begin enlisting into the new Biafran security force. This United States of Biafra police, she claimed, would answer only to Biafran authorities and would be trained in self-defense, community protection, and international human rights. She warned the youths never to be lured into joining the Nigerian police force. She said doing so would be equivalent to choosing slow death. As her words spread across social media, many began to take her seriously. Enlistment numbers reportedly surged online. Biafran activists abroad started printing flyers and banners in countries like Germany, the United Kingdom, and Canada. A powerful video of a young man swearing allegiance to the Biafran police went viral. In it, he declared that he would rather die as a soldier of Biafra than live as a beggar under the Nigerian flag. Others responded with concern. Human rights groups began to ask whether this new police force would be armed, trained in combat, or given jurisdiction to arrest people. The Nigerian government, still silent about Muhammadu Buhari's passing, did not immediately respond to this rising threat. In Abuja, the nation's capital, there was unease in political circles. members of the Senate reportedly held closed-door meetings to discuss growing signs of sedition and rebellion in the southeast. The word civil war was heard again in hushed tones, yet nobody seemed to want to confront the matter directly. Perhaps it was because many knew that things had gotten out of hand, and the usual weapons of fear, bribes, and propaganda were no longer working. Amid all of this, the tragic news from Edo State deepened the country's sense of helplessness. The kidnapping of Sheikh Mutad Mohammed shocked religious communities across faith lines. Muslim leaders called it a disgrace. Christian leaders called it an outrage. Community elders in Edo State begged the abductors to release the chief imam unharmed. A rally was held in front of the state mosque, where women wept openly and men lifted placards asking, "Is this what Nigeria has become?" No one had an answer. The kidnappers reportedly gave the family a deadline, and the ransom remained unpaid as of the time this report was expanding. In the international scene, the bizarre claims from Iran continued to gain media attention. The Iranian government doubled down on its earlier statement that Israel had employed supernatural forces, what they described loosely as magic, in a recent military clash. Even though no official evidence was presented, the story made headlines, with some commentators using it as a metaphor for military superiority, while others mocked it as an excuse for failure. But it hinted at something deeper, that global politics, like Nigerian politics, was becoming increasingly dominated by spectacle, conspiracy, and manipulation of public perception. This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.